How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another exciting video. In the last video, we implemented the functionality for users to be able to register for an account through the React front end. And then in this section, I want to implement the login and logout functionality in our React front end. So I am currently running my database here, and something I want to do quickly before we actually dive in and implement this is just do a few little fixes. So one of these fixes is in the user profile views. So basically, it has to do with this line right here. So in this first line, we're retrieving the user. So within the request itself, we retrieve the user. And then here we're retrieving the user again. So that's a little bit redundant. We don't indeed have to do this since we already have the user object. So here we're just getting that user object twice, which is pointless. And we're doing the exact same thing in the update profile view as well. So what we can actually do is just get rid of this, since we already retrieved the user, and then we can just use that in here. And then same thing with this here. So we can remove that since we are retrieving the user, and then right here we are actually using that, as well as right here. So yeah, we do not have to do that, and so we do not even need the user model within here. So I'll go ahead and save that. And then there's some other fixes as well in the accounts views. In particular right here, a better way to handle this would just be to retrieve the user like we did in the requests with the profile. So I can do user is equal to self.request.user. And it makes more sense to retrieve the user with the request and then check whether that user is authenticated like this. And then for the last fix in the backend that I want to handle is this right here. So I'm doing a user.objects.createUser, and then I'm doing a user.save. So now this is kind of an opportunity to explain how this stuff works in Django. So this user.save is actually very redundant here. So let's take a look at how I did it here. Here it's fine. I did user profile is equal to another user profile object, and then I'm doing user profile.save. But when you do, let's say user.objects.createUser, it's already doing this save. So this right here is just the equivalent of these two steps. So what I can do is I can just get rid of this because I'm already saving the user through this function. And then with this right here, I can do user profile.objects.create, and then I don't need this save. So yeah, this is a better way to handle this. And we can actually go ahead and test this out just to make sure that everything's in order. So let me navigate into my backend, do source, vem bin activate, and then run my server. All right, so I have Postman open. Let's go ahead and register another account. Let's see, what's a good account name? Let's say Billy. So Billy is going to be our new account. So now we get that 403 forbidden because I need to send the correct CSRF token. So let's go ahead, send the correct CSRF token. All right, we created our user. Let's log in with this new user. We got to send the correct CSRF token. All right, so we're authenticated as Billy now. So let's go ahead and retrieve the profile. There we go. So basically right here, this created our user profile and saved it, which is the reason why we are able to actually retrieve it right here. So that worked. And also we see that without that user.save, we no problem created our user. And we can even confirm that by doing a get users. And here's our user of Billy. So yeah, some of those things that we did here were a little bit redundant, and we did not have to do that. And then we can also test out the check authenticated, since I didn't actually create a test for that. So let's do that. Localhost 8000. Oh, accounts, and then authenticated. And we don't have to pass any headers. This right here is enough. And there we go. Is authenticated success. So that works. And then we can even test that indeed it does work by logging out. And I will have to pass the correct CSRF token in order to log out. There we go. I'm logged out. Now let's go ahead, check authenticated. And there we go. Authentication credentials were not provided. So yeah, now we know that all of this stuff indeed works. So yeah, we don't have to use Postman anymore, and we can continue off with our front end. So those are just some of the little fixes I wanted to do, and everything else kind of looked at and it looks all right. So let us now go ahead and implement that login and logout functionality on our front end. So the first thing I want to do is create some dispatch states for our login and logout functionality. So I'll actually go ahead, copy down one of these to make it easier. And then this will be, I want to select both of these. And let me actually go ahead, close this, make the size a little bigger. That way it's easier to see what I'm doing and I don't have to edit as much. So login success. Let's copy this down. I'll do a login fail. And then I'll copy these down here. And then select this login. And then change it to log out. So there we go. We got login success and fail and logout success and fail. Now with that, I can go ahead, open up my auth actions. And now I can create my login and logout functionality. So first thing, let me bring in those dispatch states. So login success, login fail, logout success, and logout fail. So right above my register, I'm going to go ahead and create another action creator. So export const login. This is going to take a username and a password. We're going to have an async dispatch. And by the way, Redux stunk is what actually lets us do this asynchronous dispatch. So that's the reason why we have that middleware, something I didn't really mention. Now our config is going to look the exact same as this, so I might as well just copy it from our register so that I don't have to retype all this. We already looked at how all these headers work, so that should be nothing new. And then we want to kind of do a JSON.stringify on these two fields. So const body equals JSON.stringify. That way we turn these into a JSON object when we pass it along with our request. And then I'm going to have a try catch. And then within here, I'm going to do my request to log in. So that's const request is equal to await Axios. This is a post request. I'm going to have my backticks. And this is going to be localhost 8000 accounts login. So this is my API endpoint. And now within here, I can pass that body and config. And then we're passing the CSRF token. So this should all be in order. Now all that's left to do is handle my dispatch states. So first thing I want to check is if response.data.success. And the reason for this is if we go back into our backend accounts views, if I check out my login view, if I'm successful, I'm returning a success JSON object. So if this success parameter here is present, then I'm going to dispatch a success. So I'm going to do type login success. And then for my payload, I'm going to do response.data.username. And then one thing I'm going to do is eventually I'm going to create an action creator for loading the user. That way we can get the user's data from their profile, and then we can do something like load the user. So that's something we're going to dispatch later once we create that functionality. For now, we'll just have a comment of that so we remember that we have to do it. And then if this success isn't present, then we're going to dispatch a type of login error, or login fail rather. And then if anything goes wrong with the request, we'll also do a dispatch of login fail. So this right here should allow us now to log in. And then the other thing I want to create is our logout functionality. So I'm just going to copy this entire login, and then I'm just going to edit it so that we have a logout happening. So we'll change this to be logout. Now logout isn't going to take any parameters, so we can just remove these. It's going to be an asynchronous dispatch. Again, we're going to have these exact same headers. We're not going to have any body. So I can remove this. I can remove the body and the request. And then the API endpoint is going to be accounts/logout. And now let's take a look at our logout request. So logout's going to either return success or error. So we can go ahead and do a similar thing that we did here. If we get a success, we'll do logout success. Now logout doesn't have any payload, so we're just going to remove this. We're not going to load the user, so I can remove that comment. And then if there's an error, we're going to get a logout fail. So both of these will be logout fail. And there we go. So now we have an action creator for logging the user out as well. So now what we have to do is create some reducers to handle these dispatch states. So let me open up reducers auth. And let's bring in these dispatch states. So login success, login fail, logout success, and logout fail. And now let's go ahead and handle what happens when these things occur. So below my register success, I'll have a case for login success. All right, so what's going to happen when we log in? We're going to have our spread operator on the state. We're going to change is authenticated to be true. And then also we want to set the username, which is going to be our payload. So we're going to set this criteria right here so that we have our username within our application. And then if we get a fail, then it's pretty much going to be the equivalent of the register fail. So I'll just put that here. And then as for our logout, let's go ahead, put that below here. Case logout success. So if we get a logout success, we're going to return the state, and the thing we're going to be changing is authenticated to be false, and then username will just be, let's say, an empty string. So this is if we have a successful logout. If we have a fail for the logout, then I'll just do the same thing that I have here. So I'll just return the state. All right, so now we have functions for doing a logout and a login and a logout. So now let's go ahead and use these in our application. So first thing I'll work on is the navbar. So that's in components navbar. All right, so right now we have these guest links, but I also want to do the auth links. So that's our dashboard and our logout button. So basically, if you remember, I was explaining here how we're going to have a check for whether the user's authenticated. If they are, we're going to show the auth links. Otherwise, we're going to show the guest links. So basically, right now, from our reducer, which we just created, now we actually will be able to adjust this is authenticated piece of state. So I can go ahead and bring that into this nav bar. So I'll import my connect helper. This is coming from React Redux. And I can use this connect helper in order to actually bring in is authenticated. And I also have to bring in my logout action creator. And then that's coming from actions auth. All right, so let me go ahead, do the connect helper. So I'm going to wrap my nav bar. And then I'm going to do const map state to props. Then here, I'm going to have my is authenticated. This is going to come from, or sorry, I did this wrong. So this should be taking a parameter, which is my state. And it should be an arrow function like this. And then I'm going to be taking this from state.auth.is authenticated. Just like that. And then I'm going to bring in this map state to props. And then I'm also going to bring in my logout function like this. So all my props and all my functions here. So with that, I can go ahead and bring these in. So is authenticated and logout. I want to bring these into my component. And then I want to create these auth links. So auth links is going to look very similar to this. So I'll just copy this, paste it here. I'm going to call this auth links. And then we're going to have one for the dashboard and one for logout. So this one here, it's going to go to dashboard. So /dashboard, it's going to be a nav link. So this one's going to be the same. Whereas this one here, I'm going to have this as an anchor tag. And then it's not going to have this to. Instead, I'm going to have an onClick. So onClick, we're going to do that logout. And then I'm just going to have an href, which is just the shebang like this. And then, yeah, this is going to be styled the same as this here. So that should be good for that. Now the last thing I have to do is just implement the logic for this. So if is authenticated, if this is true, I'm going to show my auth links. Otherwise, I'm going to show my guest links. So that's it for the nav bar. Now the last thing I'm going to work on is the login page. So that's containers login. All right, so for this login page, it's going to look very similar to the register page. I'm just going to go ahead, copy the whole register page, and just paste it in the login page. And then I'm just going to edit this to basically do login instead. So we're going to need use state. We're going to need these things. We're going to need our connect helper. Instead of register, we're bringing in login. And we're going to need our CSRF token. So all of this stuff is pretty much going to be the same. This is going to be called login. So at the bottom, also, it's going to be called login. Instead of register, we're bringing in login. And then we also want the is authenticated piece of state in here. So const map state to props state is authenticated state.auth.is authenticated. And then this here is going to be map state to props. So we want to bring that in. So that's going to be login, and we're also going to have is authenticated. So we're going to bring these two into our application. We don't need this repassword because when we log in, we just need a username and a password. And then I don't need this. This, we're going to destructure just the username password. The on change will be the same. And then the on submit, we're not going to do this check. We're not going to need this. And then instead of a register, it's going to be a login, and we only pass username and password into here. And then we can just do a check here for is authenticated. If so, we're going to redirect them to the dashboard. And then as for this, we're going to say, instead of register for an account, we can do something like sign into your account. And I don't know, what could we put here? Sign into your session auth account. And here I can just do like sign in, I guess. Okay, this should be good. Then we're going to need our CSRF token like we have here. This was going to be our hidden field with the CSRF token. We're going to need this username. We're going to need the password, but we're not going to need this confirm password. So we can just delete that. And then as for this button, instead of register, we're going to have login. And then for this right here, I could do something like don't have an account, then register. And this should be /register. And then this can be sign up. And there we go. So this should be good for our login page. Now let me go ahead and adjust my register page. So for one, I want to bring in is authenticated. So we have to actually create this now. So that's going to be with our map state to props, which I can just copy just so I don't have to retype all this. We already typed this in twice. So there you go, is authenticated. Gonna bring in map state to props so that we have access to this now. And then this should be /login. And then here, else if, so we have a check for account created. Now I want to check for is authenticated. Maybe I can check for that first. Let me just copy this. So if is authenticated, we are going to redirect to the dashboard, let's say. And then if this isn't the case, we're going to check whether the account is created. Then we're going to redirect to login. So I believe this is everything we need. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and build this and see if it works. I'm going to navigate into front end. Going to build. And let's see if we made any errors here. All right, so everything built. So now I can navigate to localhost 8000. So now I have a login and a register page. So let's test out logging in now. So let's say we log into our account Billy we made a little while ago. Click login. And there we go. These links are now updated. We are navigated to our dashboard, and here we have a login success. And we also retrieved our username and updated is authenticated to true. All right, awesome. So that works. So now we can go ahead and visit this dashboard. And if I try to do something like log in, we should, okay, so we're not redirecting here, so I have to still add that. And then for register, or why did, oh, okay, I get it. So the reason why that happened was because we didn't implement functionality yet to check whether the user is authenticated. So we still need to do that so that when the page is refreshed, we actually remain logged in. So here we see that we didn't remain logged in. as soon as we refreshed. So that's something we have to add. And let me just double check here. Okay, so yeah, if is authenticated, we're redirecting to dashboard. And here as well, we're handling those things. All right, so after wrapping up the recording for this last video, where I was implementing the login and logout functionality, I realized I did not test the logout functionality. So if we were to actually go ahead and log in and then try to log out, you're gonna notice it doesn't work right now. So I get a logout fail. And the reason for that, we're gonna see right now. So if we open up our auth actions, so let me close this stuff up. Why isn't this closing? There we go. All right, so if we go down to where we implemented logout, so that's right here. So there's an additional thing we have to pass. Whenever we do a post request, doing this is not enough. The other thing we need to pass is const body, is json.stringify. And then here we want to do with credentials true. So we have to pass this as well into our request. So I can go ahead, pass that into here. And that way we pass along our credentials with our request. And this will actually allow us to log out. Another thing is, here I put the backticks, but I didn't do the process.env.react app API URL. So I should use that. And I believe I also did that for the login. Okay, so yeah, here I must have changed it between recording, but yeah, just make sure you're not hard coding it in. That way you can just go to your environment variable and easily change this. All right, so now with this, I can go ahead, rebuild this project. So npm run build, let that finish up here. All right, so now if I refresh this, I can re-log in. And now if I click logout, there we go. I am logged out. And I get a logout success, so perfect. And all of this is updated accordingly. So there we go. Now we have the logout functionality, and now I can get back to the video. So yeah, there we go. So that's login and logout functionality. In the next section, we're going to implement functionality for loading the user and also for checking whether they're authenticated. That way we actually remain authenticated when we refresh the page. So hope you enjoyed this section. Make sure to leave this video a nice big like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this kind of content. Also, click those links in the description if you want to join the most powerful Facebook group on web development, and like the Facebook page. That way, if you have any questions, you can directly message me or leave a post in the group and get direct help from me. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next section.